Hello, friends and minstrels. Welcome to BARF. That's Backlog Accomplishment with Respawn and Friends, where today we're talking about John Wick Hex, a video game where you play as John Wick, finding a man named Hex. I have some friends with me to talk about this video game. One of them just walked off. Another one of them, his name is Chad Michael Ennis. What's up, Chad?
Woo! Guess what? Hex is not a person's name. That's a type of wrench. It's an Allen wrench. Allen is a person's name.
But is Allen Wrench named after a person?
Allen wrench is named after aliens, but someone made a typo when they made the first one, and they hit publish too early.
An alien wrench.
Yeah.
Very good. We also have with us the man who first learned who to snap about a month ago, Alexander Kozina.
It was probably about 2 years ago, actually, if you should know.
I mean, just like to be almost 30 years old and learn how to do it 2 years ago is what? Do you know how to swim? Did you learn that one yet?
I mean, yes, I know how to swim. With the whole, well, you know what it is with the whole snapping thing is like, I definitely had like an experience where I attempted to learn how to snap my fingers when I was like 5 years old. Like when you don't really know how to do anything well. And I wasn't able to do it well then. And so I was like, it's just too difficult for me. And so I just put it at the back of my mind until many years later, I was like, I should probably just finally learn how to do the damn thing. And here we are.
Yeah, my son couldn't do it from like ages 7 to 8, but then he figured it out because he's a child. We also have with us Joel.
I remember very clearly laying on a cedar chest that had a bunch of blankets in it. My dad was on the computer next to me, and I was just laying there trying to snap. I was like 4 years old, maybe. Yeah. I remember the very distinct moment when I snapped my first snap, and I was like, Dad, did you hear that? And he was like, shut the fuck up. I'm playing Rogue One Star, like the
TIE Fighter or whatever. Yeah.
TIE Fighter, with the joystick on the computer.
Very cool.
I'm just kidding. My dad's great. He didn't tell me to shut up.
Shut the fuck up, Chad. No, besides snapping, we also have with us Joel Campos. How long did it take you to learn how to do that skill?
I honestly don't know. I'm also just a voice in the sky. My camera's not on, so...
That's fine. I can see you. That's what matters.
Yeah. I did not play any John Wick Hex.
Well, that's fine. We'll get there in a second.
That's what you're asking. But I do snap.
Okay, I'm glad you snapped. Anyways, moving on to the actual thing, whatever we're talking about. John Wick Hex. This is a BARF review. I'm going to go through the basic, copied it from the wiki and all that stuff, and then we'll go through all the other stuff here. So John Wick Hex is a 2019 tactical role-playing game developed by Bithell Games and published by Good Shepherd Entertainment. Both names that came up recently on the podcast. Was released in October 2019 for PC and Mac, ported to consoles in late 2020. The game serves as a narrative prequel to the film series. John Wick Hex is a timeline strategy game with elements of resource management where the player maneuvers the titular character through a level of hex-based grid using various moves and action to defeat enemy and avoiding being hit by his foes. Ian McShane and Lance Reddick reprise their roles from the film. Troy Baker voices the bad guy named Hex. Just a little bit about the developer. Mike Bithell suggested the idea of a turn-based tactical game, what he called John Wick Chess, in which the player would have to make new decisions as the situation changed. Bithell was given access to the script for John Wick Chapter 3 prior to its production. Bithell had the opportunity to discuss the film's direction with Chad Stahelski, the series director, and also was able to work with various stuntmen on the film to help develop the animations used in the game. It received average reviews. It is a 74 on Metacritic. All right. We're going to start with Cozy. Top level feelings. Did you play it? Where'd you play it? Papa John's.
So I want to start this off by saying, and I do mean what I'm about to say genuinely, that I really actually appreciated the theming for this past month's BARF games. You know, typically whenever we do a BARF game poll in October, we usually have it be just like a bunch of horror games because, you know, it's keeping in with the spooky season chills and thrills. We've played games like Alien Isolation in the past as an example of like a prior October BARF game. And I do really appreciate, Adam, that for this past October, you made it so that it was entirely about games that have a Wiccan or an occult connection without them being horror games themselves. Because obviously there was John Wick Hex, there was Immortals of Avium, Wizard with a Gun, and the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood. That's a really inspired list of games. And so I do want to say right up front, I do appreciate that. So here's the thing. As everyone on this podcast knows, when it comes to these BARF games, I usually tend to go the extra mile and go above and beyond what's required of us. When we played Bayonetta 1, I also played Bayonetta 2. When we played Life is Strange Through Colors, I played every other Life is Strange game that had been released at that point in time. When we played Tomb Raider 2013 this past summer, I also played Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This game, John Wick Hex, is one of the shorter games that we've had to play for BARF. And only about 8 hours of beat, according to timetobeat.com, and I didn't even bother with playing it to completion. I got about 3.5 chapters through this game and decided I have honestly had enough of this game. Conceptually, top level, I really love what this game is going for. It's different from so many other licensed games in its space in a way that I think is really admirable, and I'll get into more of why I think that is when we get later into this review, but I really felt like this game was lacking the polish, variety, and customizability that I'm looking for out of a premium indie game like this.
All right, Chad. Oh, by the way, what'd you play it on, Cozy? I don't know if we asked that or not.
I played it on PS5.
Gotcha. Chad, how you feeling? What'd you play it on?
I also played this on PS5. I think it was you who alerted the world to the fact that it was on sale for like $4 or something like that on PSN.
That was me. No, it was on sale for $4 on Switch.
No, it's probably Adam. It's probably Adam.
Oh. Yeah. Well, it also happened to be on sale for $4 and still is on sale in case anyone wants to, after listening to this, pick it up for $4 for the next like week or something. So yeah, I played it on PS5. In the very intro, I had forgotten that this was a Bithell Games thing because I really enjoyed Thomas Was Alone, which was Mike Bithell's like game that maybe it was his first game or at least the one that broke him out. But then to see him come from animating tiny little squares and jumping through a level voiced by one British guy to then like getting access to the John Wick script and that voice cast, and then now Tron. He just did Tron. Like that's what a journey to follow him on. And then I followed the journey of John Wick Hex for about 20 minutes, and I got frustrated after I died 5 times in a row, not understanding how the fuck I was supposed to do it. And I said, this game is not a Chad game. This game is very much it. John Wick, I don't have like a strong connection to the source material. I've seen John Wick 3 and maybe I saw 1. I can't remember. So like that didn't, or John Wick 4. I saw John Wick 4, not 3.
Well, you just started at the last one?
I went and saw it because it was like, I can't remember whether it was a filmed in IMAX thing or whether I just really loved
you saw 4 because we talked about at the beginning when he punches the bag and there's gunshots for his fist sounds. Remember we talked about that. Yeah.
That was whatever the most recent John Wick was.
Yeah,
with the whole scene on the stairs like that. That's the one that I saw. And then I think I watched one a long time ago, maybe somewhere during a party while I was eating Doritos or something. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, I didn't have a strong connection to the source material, but I did enjoy the art style, and I was like, this might get me into it. And then I realized that it was just like, it was the slowest way to play a character who's known for the fastest action and like smoothest, coolest action. And it was not in any way engaging to me. And in fact, I'll relate it to, I often complain about many recent Pokemon games being like, all you want to do is do the thing, and every 2 steps you take, someone stops you from doing the thing so they can come tell you about some stupid, present they found under a tree or a piece of grass they saw growing on their windowsill. And it's like, I don't give a fuck. Let me walk more spaces. And this is the game. You literally can't do anything. Somebody looks at you or like takes half of a step towards a dumpster and everything grinds to a halt. And I was not good at it, and I died a lot in 20 minutes, and I said, I'm not going to do this.
All right, very cool. Joel didn't play it. He failed the assignment. That will be marked on the record. Do not worry. As for me, I played it on PC because I think I've bought one game on the Epic Game Store, and I think it was this because it was on sale for like $3 at one point, like 5 years ago, and I just never played it. I kind of with you guys. Again, it's the thing where I like the world design. They were very good with making like.
Did you see the game to completion?
No, I got like 80% of the way through.
Wow. So none of us beat it.
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
It's that thing where like the idea is cool. The license I really like. And once you get in the flow of it, I'm like, okay, this is a fun enough gameplay thing, but it's not engaging enough to keep it with me. Like, I would say, like, if someone made a John Wick game, I love indie games, and the idea of this is cool, but I'm like, you got to give me more budget so I can feel like John Wick. Again, when you're doing like, okay, I love the timeline thing where it's like, okay, if I throw the gun, this will interrupt that guy, then I can move on him and take him down to and that stuff is cool. But then, like, I don't know, like you walk side to side, like back and forth because it's on a hex and you can't walk in straight lines. And there's, John Wick is, I mean, it's the art style of the game, but he just doesn't look like anything, and he doesn't, I don't know. There's not a lot of character to John Wick. The worlds I like the club, it's like, oh, that looks like a cool nightclub from John Wick. Oh, yeah. But it's like, this game is fine. But I'm like, I wish a John Wick game was like really, really good. So I'm just like, whatever. It's not egregious. It's not plumbers don't wear ties. It doesn't upset me. Ooh. But I'm also just like, I'm fine not playing this game again from Mike Bithell. So it is what it is.
The whole budget thing is interesting because, like, as of recent, I feel like a lot of us have played some like really premium indie games that just are overflowing with polish. And this game feels like, and there's no way to say this without sounding demeaning, but like it honestly feels like something that was made at a game jam as a proof of concept, where it's like, we just need to nail the basic gameplay of what we're going for here, and we'll get to the rest of the polish once we actually bring this to store shelves as a finished product. There are so many moments in the game, like just the splash screen being the most basic thing ever, the end screen that pops up when you beat a level, where it's like, this does not exude, like, put aside, the John Wick license and the, it being a very kind of prestige Hollywood movie franchise at this point. This doesn't even match the same level as something like a Dave the Diver or a Balatro. Dave the Diver, actually, scratch that one because that's technically not an indie game. But, some of these other premium indie games that come to mind vastly outpace this game in terms of just feeling like a premium product.
It's an interesting thing that I'm thinking about it because I heard, I don't know what podcast, I listen to a fucking 100 podcasts a week where they're talking about like, oh, it'd be cool if like companies just like, you take pitches from indie developers and like give them a cool license or whatever. And I was just looking around at the Bithell games. I looked at, the Tron stuff, and its Metacritic is like a 67 on PC and a 74 on game? Switch. Yeah, the first Tron game that he made, or the Bithell Games main game. So it's just like, okay, cool that you're giving the IPs to teams to make cool ideas, but it's like they feel like they're not, polished or what. I feel like, yeah, like you said, they don't go the full length that you would want for a Tron, that you'd want for, like, if John Wick was like a high-paced action shooter, that would be super cool. Again, I like the idea of a strategy game for John Wick because that makes sense on a smaller budget, but it doesn't, it doesn't engage you. And again, I haven't played Tron, but just looking at the reviews, it's like, it doesn't seem like it gripped a lot of people based on what you assume the Tron IP could do. So again, I love indie games, but like, you've got to, I don't know. I feel like
the thing is,
there's more we could do with this than what we got. No, you
yeah, exactly.
No, go for it. Go for it, guys. Go for it.
For the longest period of time, if you were getting a licensed game, chances were it was going to be some sort of lackluster experience meant to cash in on a movie that was about to release or had just released. And nowadays, as a result of the cost and time of developing video games rising exponentially within the past few years, like, licensed games have largely pivoted to now being much more premium products that are not built to tie into the release of movies, but instead are built around adding to whatever universe their IP is based on. You have games like Hogwarts Legacy, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, RoboCop Rogue City. You also have like upcoming games like the Indiana Jones game or Dune Awakening. And, John Wick Hex, it's really unique in that it really doesn't fit into either of the above two camps. It's, a unique example of a big movie property being given to a prestige indie developer to make a prestige indie game. And that's something that I feel like we definitely need more of. We've had so many people within the past, few months, start sounding the alarm bells of like the video game industry as a whole needs to re-nurture AA games, needs to continue nurturing indie games. We can't be reliant exclusively on these bigger AAA experiences. And that definitely also applies for the licensed game space as well. Not every licensed game can be a Dune Awakening and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And so like this game, like I really appreciate that Mike Bithell went and did this game without the industry collectively coming up and being like, man, we really need an indie John Wick game. This game came out in 2019, like a little while before a lot of this discourse really rised up. But yeah, it's just, it doesn't quite hit on the level that you want it to.
I got two things. First up, Mass Keaton in the chat says, kind of sounds like Katana Zero as far as predicting movements go. I think Katana Zero with a John Wick skin would have been a much better game. That would have been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Like the idea of just like get to these rooms as quick as possible. Yeah.
If you're intrigued by the idea of like an action game where you're cerebrally attempting to figure out how to like most efficiently kill a bunch of people in a series of rooms, and then you get to see a replay afterwards of what you did in real time, Katana Zero is like far and away the better game. Like absolutely play that game over John Wick Hex 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 times.
Absolutely.
I even feel like Hotline Miami would be a great
with the guns and stuff.
John Wick skin. Yeah, mashing through doors and shooting shit and like that. That feels like a strategy was not quite the right. I don't know. This feels even more strategy. This feels like strategy, like a strategy game that is also a strategy game, like strategy multiplied by itself. Because it feels like strategy slowed down even further to every micro movement. But yeah, I think Hotline Miami, something a little bit more fast paced, a little bit more frenetic, is what I would want to. You go into it, you clear a room in Hotline Miami without taking any damage, and you feel like a freaking, especially those more complicated, you feel like a freaking god, like you want to feel like when you're John Wick. So like that's what I feel like I want from a John Wick game.
Yeah, with you. Chad, two things for you. Yeah. By the way, you should just watch all the John Wick movies. They're very good. They literally get better as they go.
I know.
But you should watch them all. How wild was it for you to hear Lance Reddick's voice, obviously, now that he's gone, but then also Ian McShane showing up? I'm like, yo, they straight up just got the guys from the movie in here.
I know, right?
I was not expecting to hear Ian McShane's
not expecting that.
A little bit.
Also, I saw yesterday, I went to go see a movie and I saw a trailer for Ballerina, which is the new John Wick movie.
Yeah.
And fucking Lance Reddick is in that. And I'm like, when the hell did y'all film that? This must have been years ago at this point, if you had Lance Reddick in that.
Yeah, they were filming it, I think, either right before or the same time they were doing Chapter 4 for John Wick. So it was all in that same time period, I believe. So, yeah. Very cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Cozy, if you want to go through the rest of your notes, I think we're basically done here. Again, I don't hate this game. I think it's fine, but it's not. It's very specific what you have to be into a slow strategy game. It's not a John Wick. It doesn't feel like what you would want from John Wick. I don't think it's bad, but it's like...
It's not a John Wick fantasy. No. It is a strategy game with a John Wick skin on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a... I want to say it was the Polygon review that was like, you're not playing as John Wick in this game. You're playing as John Wick's brain, basically, in essence, which I think is a really good way of putting it. Again, I don't dislike the concept of this game. I like, again, we've said it many, many times, the idea of giving a big movie franchise license over to an indie developer doesn't fully come together. I do want to say, real quick, so that we're not entirely negative in this review, I do really love the mechanic of throwing your gun towards enemies to stun them. What I love about it is in a situation in which you and your enemy are evenly matched, you have equal amount of time to attempt to strike the other person, you throwing the gun will always be faster than most other things the enemy can do. And so I really love that kind of scramble. Like, all right, I have just enough time to throw the gun, run up to the enemy, and then melee them and beat the shit out of them. I really love that. It's one of those things for playing this game. I'm like, man, it is kind of shocking that there aren't more first-person shooters out there that allow you to throw the gun after you're done with all the bullets in it. Like, the only game that comes to mind is something like Borderlands 2, and you can only do that with like a specific kind of gun in the game. Like, it's like only from like one of the manufacturers. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
they like blow return the grenades
on reload.
or something.
You throw it at people and it explodes or something like that.
Yeah, that's so satisfying, and I wish that we had more games that provided that. And there are moments like that where I'm like, yeah, this reminds me of they did a good job of kind of translating the John Wick movies, like action stunt sequences into gameplay form. I will say, just briefly dipping back into things that we didn't like about this game, I think one of the single biggest missed opportunities in this game, and we actually did touch on this briefly, but really to kind of hammer home, the like replay function when you like get to the end of a level in this game is so bad. Like watching John Wick just awkwardly like stutter through levels, turn around, jerkily punch the same person in the same punching animation over time. It is not nearly as satisfying as something like the replay function at the end of a game like Katana Zero. Again, all the more reason to play Katana Zero over this game. So, yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about it.
Dope. All right. That's it. That's our review for John Wick Hex. Thank you, Matt Keaton, for jumping in and talking about good stuff. I've also had this idea of the greatest. I think I was on a podcast and someone was like, what would be your fantasy game? I'm like, give me a super high budget action game where John Wick does his impossible task. Like, it's the prequel. It's the thing that gets him out of the life again. All that shit is turned into the movie. So, that would be my, and I was like, I guess Rockstar, because they made Max Payne. So just make fucking John Wick, but make him do impossible task.
They recently announced that they're doing an animated movie based on that exact part of the John Wick lore. So
that's good shit. Yeah, I'm a cartoon. That's my Keanu Reeves. So really quickly, we're going to go over. So normally for BARF, again, every month, we choose a different game to pull off our backlog and review. But at the end of the year, specifically November, December, we put up polls to review games that are left on our pile for Game of the Year for this year. So Cozy, do you have the results? All three of us, me, Chad, and Cozy, had our own poll of 4, put it up on patreon.com/respawnaimefire, as well as on Twitter, and was like, hey, help us pick what game in our backlog we need to finish for Game of the Year time. Cozy, do you have results?
Yes, I do. So, for Chad's Game of the Year poll, we asked you to vote between Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Animal Well. And technically, Animal Well came in first on Patreon. However, because of the Twitter poll, Chad is actually tied between Dragon's Dogma and Animal Well. So you actually have to decide, Chad, which of those two games you want to play.
Dragon's Dogma 2 or Animal Well?
I mean, I can tell you which one's a lot shorter.
Tell me which one. How long
Animal
to
Well is
beat?
much shorter than Dragon's Dogma, 100%.
Animal Well
then let's go Animal Well, baby.
All right, Chad is going to be playing Animal Well. For me, I asked you to vote between Animal Well, Black Myth Wukong, Neva, and UFO 50. I was tied on Patreon between Animal Well and Black Myth Wukong. But on Twitter, everybody unanimously voted for Black Myth, so I'm going to be playing Black Myth Wukong. Chad,
did Shroud vote on that?
Look forward to... I'd have to imagine he probably did. He probably did.
Yeah, I bet.
But I look forward to talking about that game with you, Chad. I have not started the game yet, but I definitely will be getting to it soon. For Adam, his poll is still ongoing. We're asking you to vote between Thank Goodness You're Here, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2, and Unicorn Overlord. Overlord. So you can go over to patreon.com/respawnaimefire and also our Twitter account, which is @respawnaimefire, to vote on that particular poll. Remember that your vote counts for much more on Patreon.
When does that one come down by? Just random question.
That will be just a little bit over 2 days from now. So even if you're listening to this on YouTube after the fact, you should still have a little bit of time to sway the vote. So go to the polls. Vote.
Adam,
it's not just important to vote for your president.
I want the record to show I voted for Warhammer, Space Marine 2, and I'm willing to ride or die and play that co-op with you if you're down for it.
Oh my god.
I mean, that's the one I was hoping would win anyway.
If that wins.
Yeah, that's my hope. We'll see what happens, though. But yeah, it looks good. All right, that's our podcast. You're fine, Keaton. And what do we do here? See you later. Get off my polls.